Afternoon.
Afternoon.
I get away from the podium. I don't need a podium, so I just want to, first of all, my name's Hamilton Lee. I'm by training, I'm a medical doctor and I'm a surgeon in practice here in the metro area. I've been here since about 2001. Had an interest early on in combat sports, MMA and boxing. A member of the Association of Ringside Physicians, so a lot of you kids, fighters, have probably recognized me from me doing your pre and post-fight physicals. I wanted to thank Oklahoma Boxing and Combat Sports for the invitation to participate, as well as the Bethany Metro Library here for hosting this event. Thank you to all the parents that are bringing your kids here involved in boxing. I'm just going to briefly kind of talk a little bit about the benefits of obviously the boxing, and you guys are all members of the choir already. Kind of know, I know I'm preaching to the choir a little bit, but we'll talk about safety first. At USA Boxing, we are all licensed. All the coaches, gym owners, all have a licensure through USA Boxing that we do annual training. We do special modules online, such as Safe Sports, that ensure that we're keeping all of our students, all of our kids involved. Safe when it comes to things like grooming and any kind of abuse. We've heard about different abuse in gymnastics and other things like that. We don't ever want that to happen in boxing, and so we do annual training every year to talk about how to recognize these things, to avoid them, and how to make sure that we're being professional at all times, dealing with our boxers when it comes to physicals, any kind of injuries, how to examine patients, and we all do this in a very professional manner, but we do annual training, so you guys know we want to keep your kids safe, and that our overseeing organizations do their part too to make sure that our kids are always safe. As far as the health benefits of boxing, there's obviously some of the obvious points are cardiovascular, the benefits as far as overall health, but when your kids are in a boxing gym, they're part of a community. And that community is teaching these kids and these young men and women about determination, about grit, about discipline, about self-control. They're managing their emotions. When they're fighting, they're not just going out there throwing haymakers, right? They're controlling their emotions when they're stepping into that gym. And so that ability to control their emotions, that translates to when they're at school. So if they get into a situation, maybe a confrontation, they may be less likely to engage in a fight because they know they can defend themselves versus whoever is engaging them, and they know how to use their best weapon, which is their brain, right, to be able to either diffuse a situation, or if they have to defend themselves, they're not afraid to do so. All right, so people are going to strike more often, throw that first punch on that school playground because they're scared, right, versus a kid that can know how to dodge and do footwork and move away and get away from a situation. They're less likely to engage. So your kids are learning that part already, and that's super important. So applause to the parents that are involving your kids in this. You're teaching them so much more than just how to box and fight, but really to defend themselves and handle that certain situation. So I think boxing and combat sports in general has so much to teach when it comes to that sort of thing, and you're teaching your kids to be future leaders as well. All right, leaders are going to be going out there being brave and doing hard things, and your kids are doing hard things every day. But again, all that grit and determination and things like that. And then the last piece is we know that children that are involved in community, such as boxing here in these gyms, are less likely to get into problems as far as drugs, alcohol, and any other kind of criminal activity. If they're involved, they're going to be less likely to be involved in those other things. So we are helping our communities by having our training the next generation of leaders in our community, and they're going to be better citizens for our community. So kudos to all the coaches out there, Coach Maurice here, everybody else that's here, with the different coaches from Edmond as well. Thank you guys for what you do every day in that gym to work with our young men and women here that are here today, showcasing their skills and talent. Any questions? Okay, that's all my 2 cents. So appreciate you guys' time for coming out today. Get other kids involved too. You guys have friends at school that could be involved in these things too. Maybe it's a kid that you see at school that's getting picked on, that maybe you're not really involved, but hey, kid that's getting bullied around, say, hey, invite them to come to your gym and work out with you guys. Teach them give them, the opportunity to learn some skills to defend themselves too, and maybe they're less likely to get bullied, But you guys are out there in the schools, you see the kids and stuff that may be struggling, and as leaders in our community, you guys can make a difference in your school too. So you invite somebody to come to the gym and hang out, and you might make a friend out of it.
I'm not a dietetics major really, but I learned how to study, and I learned how it felt to be overweight. And I'm a martial artist, so I learned how to be an outlet for fighters that need it, because it's expensive to have a dietetics coach in your corner sometimes. And your coach, again, can't be responsible for all of it. So I'll talk to you guys. I was going to talk to you guys from the hip, so now I know who's in the room. When it comes to breakfast, you want to make sure you're not having a sugary breakfast. Hormone production, testosterone in men, and hormone production in women is regulated typically by fats. So you want to make sure you have a fattier breakfast. Have eggs or avocado or some bacon is fine. Don't have a Pop-Tart. Don't have a piece of cheesecake. Bowl of cereal with a cup or two of cereal and some milk, about the same macros as cheesecake. Why would you go to school on that? Why'd you let your kid do that? We're just taught that. Mom, they can't know until the kid's spiraling out a physical way. They don't know what is happening. They're just doing what they're taught, or they know best. You're not to blame. Mom wasn't to blame. She was doing her best, right? So you don't need carbs unless you really work out. Your carbs are stored in your muscle as glycogen. When you deplete the glycogen, the fuel, you need carbs to replenish it. You can go through ketosis, we can get more nerdy, but carbs after you train. You're not a puppy, it's not a treat. It's part of your plan. If you didn't work out, you don't need carbs. Pretty simple, right? If you didn't work out, have fat and protein. If you worked out, have some carbs. But it's not a treat. Don't say it's cheat day or treat day. You're not a puppy, I'm going to say that a lot. You may be food motivated. I love sweets, you guys. I live my life a certain kind of way so I can have dessert nightly. And I have a way more dessert than I probably should. So I'm not leaner than I can. I could be leaner than I am because I just like dessert. I don't need to make weight for a fight either. Water is important. I was going to talk about water for weight cutting, but generically speaking, for foundational food planning, you want to have a plate that has a protein the size of your hand, veggies the size of your hand, and about half that in rice or beans or carb. Generally, if you have just a knee-jerk meal plan, and that's what you live by, you're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty good with that. You want color. Color in vegetables and fruit is antioxidant vitamins. Color in, so what that means is vitamin A, C, D, etc. Color. When I say more colorfully, that's what I mean. Color in meat and cheese is typically fat. So red meat or orange cheese is fattier. Makes sense? White cheese or white meat, there's no fat, less fats in that. So if you're trying to cut weight, fats are twice as caloric as proteins and carbs. So you're in a weight cutting period, you don't want to cut too much fats that regulate your hormones. You got to cut calories if you're trying to cut weight. So be careful with your proteins and carbs and fats. And I can get more nerdy with you individually. I didn't expect you to take notes today. But again, that much protein, how big your hand is, that much protein, that much veggies, that much whatever else, generally. And of course, you can get more nerdy, make it colorful. Mom and Dad, make it colorful. I just totally farted there. Again, you don't need carbs unless you worked out. So try to have them as close to when you're done working out as possible. And protein. You want protein to be doing its job right after you work out. Typically people say half an hour or so with your protein shake. I like to have it right. I finish workout, shake it, done, move on my life. You want to start recovery and really building muscle as fast as possible. And if you don't replenish your glycogen, your muscle fuel, you'll be dead the next day also. You also don't need an entire pizza. I don't care how hard you train. I want it though, you know what I'm saying? I like carbs and pizza and then cinnamon rolls, it works. Get a good electrolyte supplement. Without getting into detail on what electrolytes do, they kind of activate your water. They'll make your water do its job more effectively in your body. That's why you get cramps if you're not eating things that have the right salts and electrolytes in them. You get cramps if you're not eating properly. Weight cutting is not put a sweatsuit on and hit the stairs. It's not. It can be, but your wrestling coaches are wrong. I encourage my athletes, my fighters that are professionals, to walk around 10% more than they fight at. You fight 185 pounds, you 18 pounds. You walk around, so 210 pounds. Because you can, a gallon of water is 8 pounds. So when you're doing your water cycle properly, 8 pounds of your weight is going to be in 1 gallon of water. So you're carrying a lot more than that. You can put that back on pretty fast. But if you don't diet down at all, and you got to cut 16 pounds, cutting 2 gallons of water sucks a lot. And I'm not going to teach you how to do that. Unless you're a pro fighter and you took a fight, last minute fight for some reason, last minute notice, and you got to cut 20 pounds overnight. I don't encourage it at all. But definitely work on dieting, walking 10% more than you fight at, no matter your age. So 10%, if you can't do the math, ask your mom. 10% more than you fight at, and then cut maybe 8 pounds of it in water. And but you want to have a plan for that with salt, things like that. Talk to Maurice or me and I'll give you the plan. I'm not trying to hide tactics from you guys. I just don't want to talk the entire time about tactics unless you ask. When you cut weight, like I told you, again, fats are twice as caloric as proteins and carbs. Just be careful eating too many things like pork rinds. Pork rinds are no carbs. They're just fat and protein. They're kind of a cheat code, but they're very caloric. Just be careful of these sorts of things that can be little pitfalls, like mangoes. Mangoes are good. They're a veggie, right? I'm sorry, a veggie, a fruit, but there's a lot of sugar. Just kind of be bananas too. Bananas also have a lot of things for cramps. But be clear with your coach what you're eating, even if you're hiding it. Because if I know you're going to have Little Debbie's at night, I can plan for that around in the rest of your meal plan with you. But you can't have Little Debbie's and the rest of the food you're eating and expect to make weight. But we can figure out how to make Little Debbie's work in your life if that's what you got to do to make your fight happen. We're all human beings. Sugar's addictive, you guys. Really? Okay, neat. Just understand and accept that sugar is addictive, like 10 times more than drugs. Not 10 times more, way more times than drugs. So your body looks for it all the time, and it creates a neurochemical called dopamine. That's also very addictive. So just understand you're addicted to it. Everyone is. You got to learn to handle that somehow. Probably and by talking to your coach about it is the first step in handling it correctly. And then again, talk to your mom about colorful dinners. Protein the size of your hand at least. Pork rinds are cheating, or a cheat code rather, not cheating. They're awesome. If you're okay with pork, get a good water schedule. Colors that you need nutrients, and you color each meal if possible. I guess that's all I can do, guys. Peak nutrition. I've been open 14 years. I lost 140 pounds on the scale, 200 pounds of body fat. I've been doing kickboxing for 15 years, black belt since I was 17. I love this entire world of fighting and martial arts aspect of these kids are awesome, and I'll do what I can for your kids if you love me. Thanks, guys.